My parents declined my desperate hospital calls because my sister was crying about her wedding decor. So I asked my attorney to meet me in the ICU, and when they finally showed up, they learned the real price of their heartless choice. This isn't a story about my heart stopping. It's a story about it finally learning to beat for itself. Because what happens when the very people meant to protect you choose paint swatches over your literal deathbed? The sterile, flickering fluorescent lights of the conference room had never felt more oppressive. My vision blurred, the words on the Q3 projection slides morphing into an unrecognizable, swirling mess of colors. My heart wasn't just racing, it was trying to claw its way out of my chest, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. And as you can see, my voice cracked, a thin, reedy sound I barely recognized as my own. I was Eleanor, and I was dying in the middle of the most critical presentation of my entire career. "Miss Wells, are you all right?" Someone called from the back. I tried to answer, but nothing came out. The room spun violently, and suddenly, I was watching the acoustic ceiling tiles spin above me as my body hit the floor with a sickening thud. The chaos erupted. "Call 911. Is she breathing?" "Clear the room." My assistant, Chloe, appeared above me, her mascara already streaking down her face. "Eleanor, stay with us. The ambulance is coming." My arms felt like lead, heavy and useless, but I tried to lift one, to reach for my phone. Call my parents," I managed to whisper before the world went completely dark. The next thing I knew was the cold. An all-consuming, terrifying cold. Voices, urgent and hushed, filtered through the fog. "Cardiac arrhythmia. Immediate surgery." I begged the nurse, who was prepping my arm for N4. "Please, my phone. I need to call my family." She hesitated, then handed me my iPhone. My fingers, trembling violently, dialed Mom's number. Straight to voicemail. Dad's number. Same thing. My texts grew increasingly desperate. "Mom, I'm in the hospital." "Dad, please answer. They're taking me to surgery." "I'm scared." The nurse gave me a sympathetic, pitying look as she gently took my phone away. "We need to go now, honey. I'm sure they'll be here when you wake up." They weren't. I woke up hours later in the ICU, groggy and utterly alone. The rhythmic, maddening beep of monitors was the only soundtrack to my isolation. Chloe had left a note saying she'd be back in the morning, but hospital policy strictly limited after-hours visits to immediate family only. Immediate family? What a cruel joke. At 3 a.m., a kind-faced night nurse with a gentle touch came to check my vitals and adjust my IV. "Your mother left a voicemail earlier," she said softly, holding up my phone. "Would you like to hear it?" Hope, brief and fragile, flickered in my chest. I nodded. Then Mom's voice, chirpy and unaffected, filled the sterile room. "Hi, sweetie. We got your messages, but we just can't come right now. Brianna is having an absolute crisis over the color they painted her new apartment. She's inconsolable, you know how she gets. We'll try to stop by tomorrow if she's feeling better. Love you." The nurse's face said it all. I turned away, hot, silent tears tracing paths down my cheeks. "Would you like me to call someone else for you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. A memory flashed. Last Christmas, I'd written a check for $50,000 to cover Brianna's credit card debt. Mom had barely looked up from helping Brianna arrange her new designer handbag collection. "Thanks, Ellie. You're such a good sister." Good sister. Good daughter.
Good aita.
I wiped my eyes, a new, cold resolve settling in my chest. "Actually, yes," I said, looking at the nurse. "Could you hand me my phone? I need to call my lawyer." She passed it to me, concern etched on her face. My hands were steady now, absolutely rock solid, as I scrolled through my contacts and pressed call. "Liam, it's Eleanor. I know it's late, but I need you. Bring the papers." "All of them." "Yes, I'm sure. I'm in the ICU at Mount Sinai." I paused, listening to his stunned response. "No, my family isn't here. That's exactly why I'm calling." After hanging up, I stared at the ceiling, my heart monitor beeping in rhythm with my ironclad decision. I'd almost died today, and my sister's paint color crisis had taken precedence. 20 years of similar moments crashed over me like a tsunami. Brianna's tantrums at my college graduation. My parents missing my company's launch party because Brianna had a bad date. The countless times I'd cleaned up her messes while my own achievements collected dust, largely unnoticed. My phone buzzed. An Instagram notification. Brianna had just posted a selfie with mom and dad, all three of them huddled around paint swatches. The caption read, "Worst day ever. Thank God for family support. #blessed, #family, #crisis." I clicked off my phone and closed my eyes, feeling something hard and cold crystallize in my chest. It wasn't my heart this time. It was determination. Tomorrow, Liam would help me start dismantling everything I'd built for them. And for the first time in my life, I wouldn't feel guilty about it. Liam arrived at 9 a.m. sharp, his leather briefcase bulging with documents. He took one look at me, hooked up to monitors and still pale from surgery, and his professional demeanor cracked. "Jesus, Eleanor, you look like hell." "Thanks." I managed a weak smile. "Always knew I could count on you for honesty. Did you bring everything?" He pulled up a chair and started laying out papers on my bedside table. "Everything you asked for. But are you sure about this? It's aggressive." "My heart literally stopped yesterday," I replied, my voice gaining strength. "And my family was too busy picking paint swatches to care." "I'd say aggressive is exactly what this situation calls for." Liam nodded, his jaw tightening. We'd been friends since college, and he'd witnessed plenty of my family's behavior over the years. "All right, let's start with the will changes." For the next hour, we methodically worked through the documents. My signature grew steadier with each page, like my hand knew this was right, even if my heart ached. "So that's your parents removed as beneficiaries," Liam said, shuffling papers. "Next is revoking their access to your accounts. The ones you've been using to support Brianna's lifestyle." A memory surfaced. Last summer, standing in my parents' kitchen, holding Brianna's latest credit card statement. "It's only $70,000 this time," Mom had said, not looking up from her magazine. "You know how hard things have been for her since that breakup." "Do it," I told Liam. "All of it." He pulled out another stack of papers. "And the vacation house. List it today, if possible. My parents spend every summer there." "Not anymore." My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Brianna picked the perfect shade of sage. Crisis averted. How are you feeling, sweetie?" I showed it to Liam, who let out a low whistle. "That's something else." "Watch this," I said, opening the family group chat. My fingers flew across the keyboard. "Still in ICU after emergency heart surgery? Thanks for asking. Glad Brianna's walls are sage instead of seafoam. Definitely worth missing your daughter's near-death experience for." Liam raised an eyebrow. "Poking the bear?" "More like waking it up. They've been hibernating in their bubble of denial for far too long." My phone immediately erupted with notifications. "Mom, Eleanor, don't be dramatic. The doctors said you're stable." "Dad, we'll visit soon, princess." "Brianna, OMG, why are you trying to make my apartment crisis about you?" I turned my phone face down. "Keep going with the papers, Liam." By noon, we had drafted everything needed to legally separate my finances from my family's parasitic attachment. Liam was packing up when my friend Harper burst in, carrying real coffee and looking absolutely murderous. "I just saw Brianna's Instagram story," she announced, handing me the coffee. "She's doing a full home renovation reveal, tagged #blessed, #new beginnings, #family support. Not a single mention that her sister almost died yesterday." "Of course not," I said, taking a sip. "That would require acknowledging someone else's existence." "I've got the papers ready to file," Liam said, standing. "But I'll hold them until tomorrow. Give you time to think it through." I shook my head. "File them now." I've had 38 years to think it through. After they left, I scrolled through my phone. Brianna had posted again, a boomerang of her twirling in her newly painted living room. Mom and Dad were in the background applauding. The caption read, Sometimes it takes a village. So grateful for parents who drop everything to help in a crisis. Hashtag blessed paint day, hashtag family first. My fingers hovered over the comment button. Instead, I opened my email and composed a message to my entire contact list. Dear friends and colleagues, I'm currently in the ICU at Mount Sinai following emergency heart surgery. While I'm stable now, it was a close call. I'm sharing this not for sympathy, but for transparency about why I'll be out of office for a while. I'm also sharing because yesterday I learned something valuable about family. Sometimes the ones who should be there aren't, and sometimes that's the wake-up call you need. Best, Eleanor. I hit send, then turned off my phone. Let them deal with the fallout of their choices being made public. I was done covering for them. A nurse came in to check my vitals, glancing at the papers Liam had left behind. Big decisions today? Life-changing ones, I replied. Your heart rate's much stronger, she noted, checking the monitor. I looked out the window at the Manhattan skyline, feeling lighter than I had in years. Yeah, I said. I think it finally remembered how to beat for itself instead of everyone else. She patted my hand and left. In the quiet of my hospital room, I could have sworn I heard the sound of bridges burning, and it sounded like freedom. 3 days after my surgery, my parents finally graced me with their presence. Mom swept in, wearing her signature Hermes scarf, carrying a bouquet that probably cost more than my hospital bill. Dad trailed behind, looking incredibly uncomfortable in the sterile environment. Oh, darling, Mom exclaimed, as if we were meeting for lunch rather than visiting her daughter post-cardiac event. These fluorescent lights are absolutely brutal on your complexion. Nearly dying tends to do that, I replied flatly. Dad cleared his throat. Now, princess, no need for that tone. We're here now. 3 days later, Mom arranged the flowers, filling the silence with her usual meaningless chatter. Brianna wanted to come, but she's still dealing with a contractor. Such a nightmare. They completely botched the crown molding. She's been crying all morning. I pressed the morphine button on my 4, not for pain but for patience. Where is Brianna, anyway? Dad asked, looking around as if she might materialize from behind the curtain. Probably posting about her crown molding crisis on Instagram, I said. Did you know her story about paint swatches got more attention than my emergency surgery announcement? Mom's hands stilled on the flowers. Eleanor, please. You know how sensitive she is. She's been absolutely beside herself about your situation. My situation? I repeated. You mean my heart stopping? A knock at the door saved them from responding. Liam entered, impeccable in his suit, carrying a leather portfolio. My mother's face lit up. She'd always hoped we'd date. Liam, how lovely to see you. Are you here to check on our girl? Actually, he said, walking to my bedside, I'm here in my professional capacity. He handed me a folder. I opened it slowly, savoring the moment. Mom, Dad, you remember Liam? He's my lawyer, right? The color drained from my mother's face. Dad's forced smile flickered. These are copies of documents I filed yesterday. I continued, my voice steady. I've removed you both from my will, revoked your access to all my accounts, and listed the vacation house in Florida for sale. The house? Dad stammered. But where will we go in the summer? Not my concern. Mom's perfectly manicured hand flew to her throat. Eleanor, you can't be serious. We're family. Family? I laughed, and the heart monitor betrayed my spike in anger. Let me tell you about family. Last month, I paid off Brianna's $70,000 credit card debt. The month before that, I covered her rent when she forgot to pay it for 3 months. Last year, I funded her failed jewelry business. Want to know what I got in return? When my heart stopped and I needed you most, you chose paint swatches over your dying daughter. That's not fair. Dad protested weakly. No, what's not fair is that I've spent my entire adult life being your backup plan, your safety net, your human ATM. Well, guess what? The Bank of Eleanor is officially closed. Liam handed them each a stack of papers. These detail the changes. I'd suggest reading them carefully. Mom's hands shook as she flipped through the documents. This is ridiculous. You won't go through with this. Family sticks together, Eleanor. You know that. I looked her directly in the eyes. If that's true, how come I almost died alone? The silence that followed was deafening. The house is already listed, Liam added quietly. We expect it to sell quickly in this market. Dad sank into a chair, papers crumpling in his grip. Princess, please, let's talk about this rationally. I had plenty of time to think rationally while lying here alone for 3 days, I said. Did you know the nurses took turns sitting with me after surgery because they felt bad that I had no family here? Strangers showed more concern than my own parents. Mom's mascara was starting to run. You're being dramatic. We came as soon as we could. After Brianna's paint crisis was resolved, I corrected. Check your priorities, Mom. Better yet, check your phone. I'm sure Brianna's having another meltdown about crown molding right now. As if on cue, Mom's phone buzzed. She glanced at it instinctively. Go ahead, I said. Answer it. We both know you will. She stood, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. This isn't over, Eleanor. You're upset. You're not thinking clearly. We'll discuss this when you're feeling better. Actually, we won't. I pressed the call button. Nurse, I'm ready for my rest now. As security escorted them out, a precaution Liam had arranged, I heard Mom's voice crack. She can't do this. She's our daughter. No, I whispered to the empty room. I'm just the backup daughter you never wanted, but always needed, and I quit. The monitor showed my heart rate returning to normal, steady and strong, like it knew this was just the beginning. My phone rang at 3 a.m. Brianna's name flashed across the screen, and I answered out of morbid curiosity. How dare you? Her voice crackled with rage. How dare you do this to Mom and Dad? Good morning to you too, Brianna. How's the crown molding crisis? Don't you dare be sarcastic with me. They're devastated. Mom hasn't stopped crying, and Dad had to take a Xanax. I adjusted my hospital bed to sit up straighter. Interesting how they can have such strong reactions to consequences, but couldn't muster any concern when I was literally dying. Oh my God, you're not dying? Stop being so dramatic. My heart stopped, Brianna. Actually stopped. But please, tell me more about your paint emergency. She made a sound between a scream and a sob. You need to fix this. Call Liam right now and undo everything. Or what? Or, she sputtered. Or I'll never speak to you again. I laughed, genuinely laughed, for the first time in days. Is that supposed to be a threat? The line went quiet for a moment. When Brianna spoke again, her voice had that familiar, manipulative tremor, the one that usually preceded getting her way. Remember when we were kids, and you promised to always take care of me? A memory flashed. I was 12, Brianna 6. She destroyed my science fair project the night before presentation, dumping glue all over weeks of work. Mom had blamed me for not sharing my supplies. Actually, I do remember, I said. I remember a lot of things, Brianna. Like how I sold Grandma's ring, my only inheritance, to bail you out of debt 3 years ago. Remember what you said then? Thanks, sis. You're the best. Right before you went on a shopping spree with Mom. That's different. I needed. You always need. And I'm always expected to provide. Well, guess what? I'm done. Mom wants to meet, she said, changing tactics. One last family meeting to talk things through. I considered this. Fine. Tomorrow at noon, the hospital cafeteria, but my conditions. What conditions? Noon. Take it or leave it. She agreed. And Brianna? I'm bringing Harper. Your annoying friend. Why? Because I'm done being outnumbered. The next day, Mom and Dad arrived first, looking like they hadn't slept. Brianna swept in 10 minutes late, wearing oversized sunglasses and clutching an iced latte like it was life support. Harper sat beside me, radiating protective energy. She'd known my family dynamics for years and had always been my voice of reason. Eleanor, Mom began, reaching across the table. Let's talk about this rationally. Rational. Harper interjected. Like ignoring your daughter's emergency surgery? This is a family matter. Brianna snapped. Funny, I said. I was family when you needed your credit cards paid off. Dad raised his hands placatingly. Princess, we understand you're hurt, but this revenge, it's beneath you. Revenge? I leaned forward. This isn't revenge, Dad. This is boundaries. This is me finally saying no. You're being selfish. Brianna slammed her latte down. Do you know what this is doing to me? My anxiety is through the roof. My followers can tell something's wrong. Harper snorted. Your sister almost died, and you're worried about your Instagram aesthetic? Stay out of this. Brianna whirled on Harper. This is your fault. You've always tried to turn her against us. No. I cut in. You did that all by yourselves. Mom started crying, her practice tears right on schedule. We can fix this, sweetie. Just call Liam. Stop. My voice was steel. The house is already in escrow. The accounts are closed. It's done. Brianna stood up so fast her chair toppled backward. You ungrateful. She grabbed her latte and threw it at Harper, who barely dodged the cup. The cafeteria went silent. Security approached quickly. And that, I said quietly, is exactly why this is happening. As security escorted Brianna out, her screams echoing down the hallway, I turned to my parents. We're done here. Eleanor, please. Mom tried one last time. No. I'm going to be discharged tomorrow. When I leave this hospital, I'm leaving this dysfunction behind, too. I stood up, Harper steady beside me. Oh, and one more thing. I've instructed my lawyer to file a restraining order against Brianna. Consider this her first and last warning. Walking back to my room, Harper squeezed my hand. You okay? I nodded, feeling lighter than I had in years. You know what's funny? My heart's actually beating better now that I've stopped letting them break it. Behind us, I could hear Brianna's distant screams mixing with Mom's sobs. The sound of consequences finally catching up to them all. The Florida house sold in 3 days, well above asking price. I signed the final papers for my new apartment, where I'd been recovering for the past week. Liam sat across from me, sliding over a cashier's check. For $1,200,000, he said. What are you going to do with it? First, I'm hiring an estate sale company to clear it out. Everything goes, including the piano. My hands stilled over the check. The baby grand piano, my childhood sanctuary. Mom had given it to Brianna on her 16th birthday, despite knowing I was the only one who played. Especially the piano. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Local woman removed from luxury boutique after altercation with staff. The thumbnail showed Brianna being escorted out by security, mascara running down her face. Your sister's making headlines, Liam noted, peering at my screen. She always wanted to be famous. I forwarded the article to Harper, who replied instantly. Karma's working overtime. The estate sale company arrived the next day. I watched via FaceTime as they cataloged everything, marking prices on pieces of my past. The woman in charge, Grace, held up a familiar jewelry box. What about this? Inside was a space where my grandmother's ring had once lived, before I'd sold it to cover Brianna's gambling debts. Sell it, I said. Everything goes. Eleanor. A voice screeched from off-camera. Brianna had somehow gotten past security. You can't sell Mom's anniversary china. Grace turned the camera, showing Brianna trying to grab items off a table. Should I call the police? Immediately. I watched as Brianna was removed again, this time screaming about family heirlooms and betrayal. My phone lit up with texts from Mom. How could you sell our memories? Your father is heartbroken. That piano was for Brianna. We're still your family. I blocked their numbers. Later that afternoon, Liam called. His voice was tense. We have a situation. Brianna tried to file for temporary conservatorship over you. She what? She's claiming your cardiac event affected your mental capacity. Says your erratic behavior proves you're unfit to manage your affairs. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Let me guess. She's volunteering to manage my money for me. Got it in one. Don't worry, it's ridiculous. No judge would uphold it. I interrupted hard. Make it expensive. And Liam? Countersue for harassment. The estate sale started on Saturday. I watched the security cameras from my phone as strangers picked through my family's carefully curated image. The piano went first to a music school. Perfect. My phone pinged with an email from an unfamiliar address. The subject line made my blood run cold. Your father's medical records. What is this? I asked Liam over speakerphone. Open it. Inside was a single line. Dad had a heart condition too. Mom never told you. Guess she loved one daughter enough to warn her. My new, stronger heart skipped a beat. Is this true? I had it verified, Liam said quietly. Your father has the same condition. Genetic. Brianna's been monitored for it since childhood. The room spun. They'd known. They'd known I could have inherited this. And they never told me. Protected Brianna, but not me. Never me. Liam. My voice was steady despite the trembling in my hands. Remember when you said the conservatorship claim was ridiculous? Yes. Prove it. Release my medical records to the court. Show them I'm not only competent, I'm thriving post-surgery. Then leak the fact that they knew about this genetic condition and deliberately withheld the information. That's nuclear, Eleanor. They nearly let me die, Liam. Nuclear feels appropriate. As we hung up, another notification popped up. A certified letter from Brianna's lawyer. I opened the attachment, expecting more threats. Instead, I found myself staring at a photo. Me at 12, standing protectively beside 6-year-old Brianna. On the back, in my mother's handwriting, my girls, forever inseparable. Below it, Brianna had written, remember who you're supposed to be. My protector, my sister. Don't make me destroy you. I forwarded the threat to Liam, then opened my laptop. It was time to tell my story. All of it. The decades of manipulation, the financial neglect. No names, just truth. As I typed, I remembered something my grandmother told me before she died. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop protecting people from the consequences of their own actions. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Each word a brick in the wall I was building between my past and my future. Let them come. Let them threaten. I wasn't their protector anymore. I was finally my own. My blog post went live at midnight. By 6 a.m., it had over 100,000 shares. A story of family toxicity and survival read the headline. I hadn't named names, but anyone who knew us would recognize the truth. Harper called first. Have you seen Twitter? You're trending. I refreshed my feed. Thousands of comments, most from people sharing similar stories of family dysfunction. The phrase golden child syndrome was everywhere. Your mother's country club friends are having a field day, Harper continued. Apparently, she had to leave her tennis match early because everyone was whispering. My phone buzzed. Ryan, Brianna's on-again, off-again boyfriend. Your sister's losing it, he said without preamble. She's been screaming for hours, throwing things. I can't handle this anymore. Not my problem. She says you're lying about everything, that you're just jealous of her. I laughed. Ask her about Dad's heart condition. Ask her why they never told me I could die from the same thing that almost killed me last month. Silence. Then, they knew since we were kids? Brianna got tested? I didn't even know it ran in the family. Jesus Christ. He exhaled heavily. I'm done. Tell Liam I'll testify about her behavior, if he needs me to. By noon, the story had made local news. Prominent families' dirty laundry aired, a tale of medical neglect and financial abuse. They didn't use our names, but they didn't need to. Dad's phone call came next. Princess, please. They're asking me to step down from the country club board. Tragic. Almost as tragic as not telling your daughter she had a potentially fatal heart condition. We were trying to protect you from worry. No, you were trying to protect Brianna from responsibility, as usual. Your mother's devastated. Our friends are finally seeing who you really are. Liam called with updates. Brianna's conservatorship attempt was thrown out. The judge actually laughed. But there's more. She sent a cease and desist letter claiming your blog post caused her irreparable trauma. Perfect. Counter with the medical records. Already did. Her lawyer withdrew the letter in under an hour. I was reviewing transfer paperwork for my assets when my email pinged. A message from Ryan. Thought you should see this. She doesn't know I recorded it. The attached video showed Brianna in her apartment, raging at our parents. Fix this. Make her stop. I can't take people looking at me like this. Mom's voice. Darling, we're trying. But try harder. I'm the one who matters. I'm your real daughter. The video cut off. I forwarded it to Liam with one word. Leverage. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. A photo of my grandmother's ring, the one I'd sold to help Brianna. Missing something? The text read, "Who is this?" I typed back. Someone who bought it from the pawn shop. Want it back? Meet me. I blocked the number and called Liam. They're getting desperate. Good, he said. Because I just filed the harassment suit. And Eleanor, the ring thing? That was amateur hour. I bought your grandmother's ring back months ago. It's in my safe. Tears pricked my eyes. You did. Of course. I knew you'd want it back someday. That evening, my blog post hit national news. My inbox flooded with interview requests. Dr. Phil's producers called twice. Then came Mom's voicemail. She was crying, screaming, apologizing, all in the same breath. Please, sweetie, we can fix this. Tell everyone you were confused. Say you made it up. We're your family. I played it for Harper over wine. Wow, she said. She actually sounds sincere. She's not. Listen carefully. She's not saying she's sorry for what they did. She's sorry they got caught. My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Local socialite has public meltdown at charity gala. The photo showed Brianna being escorted out again. Your sister's really committing to this spiral, Harper observed. She's never faced consequences before. She doesn't know how. I opened my laptop and began typing again. Not another blog post. This time it was an email to my realtor. Subject line, looking for properties in California. Running away? Harper asked, reading over my shoulder. No, I replied, thinking of the grandmother's ring waiting in Liam's safe. Running toward something better. As if on cue, Mom's number flashed on my phone. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel the urge to answer. Some bridges aren't meant to be repaired. Some fires need to burn until there's nothing left but truth in the ashes. The family home looked smaller than I remembered. I stood in the driveway, keys in hand, staring at the colonial facade that had housed so many carefully curated lies. Want me to go in first? Harper asked from beside me. No, I need to do this. I'd come to collect the last of my belongings before the move to California. Liam had arranged for a police presence just in case, but the cruiser parked discreetly. Down the street still felt surreal. The front door opened before I could use my key. Mom stood there, looking oddly diminished without her usual perfect makeup. You brought security? Her voice cracked. I brought witnesses, I corrected, nodding toward Harper and the police officer now walking up the drive. Dad appeared behind her. Princess, this is unnecessary. After Brianna's latest stunt, I'd say it's very necessary. They stepped aside, letting us enter. The house smelled of desperation and Chanel No. 5, Mom's stress-cleaning signature. I'm here for my things, I said, heading toward the stairs. Just my childhood photos and some documents. Wait, Mom called out. There's something you need to know first. I turned, watching her twist her wedding ring, her tell for incoming manipulation. You should sit down for this. I'll stand. She exchanged looks with Dad, who nodded slightly. It's about your adoption. The word hung in the air like smoke. Harper grabbed my arm, steadying me. My what? You're not, Mom's voice wavered. You're technically your Aunt Sarah's daughter. When she died, we took you in. You were only 2. We never told you, because we wanted you to feel like real family. The room tilted. Aunt Sarah. Mom's sister who died in a car accident. My mother. My actual mother. Dad stepped forward. We loved you like our own. Stop. My voice was ice. You loved me like your own? You let me believe I was your biological child while withholding life-saving medical information because it wasn't actually genetic for me? You prioritized your biological daughter while I paid her bills, cleaned her messes, and nearly died alone. We didn't want you to feel different. Mom protested. Different. I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. You mean like how you treated me differently my entire life? Heavy footsteps on the stairs announced Brianna's arrival. Oh, good. She finally knows she's not really my sister. I'm not. I turned to her. Then I guess I'm not really responsible for you anymore. All those years of guilt, of obligation. They never belonged to me, did they? You ungrateful, Brianna started, but Mom cut her off. We gave you everything, Mom cried. A home, an education, opportunities. No, I interrupted. I earned those things, every single one of them, while you were busy coddling your real daughter. I walked to the stairs, pushing past Brianna. In my old room, I found the box I'd come for, photos, documents, memories. At the bottom, wrapped in tissue paper, was a small frame. Inside was the last photo taken of Aunt Sarah, my real mother, holding me as a baby. Downstairs, chaos erupted. Brianna was screaming about inheritance rights. Mom was sobbing about family loyalty, and Dad was trying to talk over everyone about reasonable discussions. I descended the stairs with my box, the police officer moving closer. That's my baby photo album, Brianna shrieked, lunging for my box. The officer stepped between us. Actually, I said calmly, these are Aunt Sarah's photos. My mother's photos. I'm taking what's mine and leaving what never was. You can't just walk away from this family. Mom grabbed my arm. I shook her off. I'm not walking away from my family. I'm walking away from people who kept me around as a convenient backup plan. There's a difference. We'll sue, Brianna screamed. We'll take everything. Go ahead. I reached the door. But remember, I have proof of financial fraud, medical neglect, and now proof that you knowingly withheld my adoption status while using it against me. Want to see how that plays in court? Silence fell. I turned to them one last time. You know what's funny? You kept this secret thinking it would make me feel less like family. But knowing the truth, it finally sets me free. I'm not your backup daughter. I'm not your Aita. I'm Sarah's daughter, and I'm done carrying your burdens. Harper opened the door, sunlight streaming in. Behind me, I heard Mom collapse into tears. Dad's futile attempts at comfort. Brianna's incoherent rage. But ahead of me, nothing but open road and possibility. Ready? Harper asked. I clutched my box of real memories, feeling lighter than ever. Ready. We walked out into the sunlight, leaving the shadows of lies behind. In my pocket, my phone buzzed with another lawsuit threat from Brianna's lawyer. Let them come. I had truth on my side now, and truth, I was learning, was the strongest weapon of all. The California sun streamed through my office window as I finished typing my last blog post. My heart, now steady and strong, kept perfect rhythm with the keyboard clicks. And that's how I learned that family isn't about blood or obligation, I wrote. It's about choice. Every day we choose who we let into our hearts. My phone lit up with Liam's call. The lawsuits are officially dismissed, he announced. All of them. The judge called them, and I quote, frivolous attempts at financial manipulation. How's Brianna taking it? Not well. Have you seen the tabloids? I pulled up the latest headline. Socialite's public meltdown goes viral. My sister ruined my life. The video showed Brianna throwing drinks at paparazzi outside a Manhattan restaurant.
She's trending again, I said.
Not the kind of fame she wanted. Speaking of trending, Mom had sent an email. The subject line read, Your father's birthday. Inside was a photo of our last family vacation before everything imploded. Below it, she'd written, We miss you. Can't we just go back? I clicked delete.
My doorbell rang.
Harper stood outside with 2 coffees and a small package. Special delivery from Liam, she announced, handing me the box. Inside, nestled in velvet, was my grandmother's ring, the one I'd sold for Brianna, the one Liam had rescued. But now it sat on a new chain, transformed into a necklace. Liam said you might want to wear it differently now, Harper explained. New meanings for new beginnings. I fastened it around my neck just as my laptop chimed. A donation confirmation. I just funded a year of cardiac screening for low-income families through my local hospital. The program was named after Sarah, my real mother. Your support group starts soon, Harper reminded me. Ready. I logged into the video call, where dozens of faces appeared. All people who'd found their own strength through my story. We weren't just healing ourselves. We were building something new. Welcome, everyone, I began. Today, we're talking about setting boundaries without guilt. Halfway through the session, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Thought you should know. Brianna's trying to sell a story to the tabloids about your adoption. But don't worry, I sent them the video of her admitting to financial fraud instead. I smiled. Karma really was working overtime. Another email arrived from Dad this time. The subject line made me pause.
I'm sorry.
For what it's worth, he'd written, I was wrong. We were all wrong. Not just about how we treated you, but about what family means. You're stronger than any of us ever were. For the first time, his words held no power over me. I didn't need his approval or his apology. I was no longer that girl desperate for her family's love. The support group session ended with our usual affirmation. We choose ourselves today. Harper pointed to my laptop screen. Look at your blog comments. A new message stood out. I left my toxic family today. Your story gave me courage. Thank you for showing me that walking away isn't giving up. It's growing up. I touched my grandmother's ring, now resting over my heart instead of weighing down my hand. Ready for dinner? I asked Harper. The new Thai place has outdoor seating. Always. Oh, and I invited someone from your cardiac support group. That writer who also survived family drama. She seemed cool. Outside, the sunset painted the sky in colors no paint swatch could capture. My phone buzzed one last time. Brianna posting another rant about family betrayal. I turned off notifications and smiled at Harper. You know what? I think I'm finally done carrying their stories. It's time to live my own. We walked toward the restaurant, my grandmother's ring catching the last rays of sunlight. Behind us, a stream of comments flowed on my blog post. You helped me find my voice. I'm choosing myself today. Thank you for showing us the way out. Revenge had brought me here, but it wasn't what kept me standing. That came from something stronger. The power of choosing myself, of building a life where love didn't require sacrifice. My heartbeat, steady and true. No longer racing to please others or breaking under the weight of unwanted obligations. This was freedom. This was peace. And it tasted sweeter than any revenge ever could. You know what? I think I'm finally done carrying their stories. It's time to live my own. I turned off notifications, shoved my phone deep into my pocket, and smiled at Harper. We walked toward the restaurant, my grandmother's ring catching the last rays of sunlight, feeling like a new anchor, a symbol of self-worth rather than a burden. The Thai restaurant was bustling, a warm, fragrant contrast to the chill I'd just left behind. We found a small table outside, bathed in the soft glow of fairy lights. So, about this writer from your support group, Harper prompted, a playful smirk on her face. Is she as intriguing as you made her sound? I laughed, the sound light and genuine. More so. Her name is Eliza. She writes psychological thrillers, ironically, and has a fascinating way of articulating emotional nuances. She said she'd be here a little after us. Just as I finished, a woman with vibrant red hair and eyes that sparkled with intelligence approached our table. Eleanor? Harper? She asked, a warm smile spreading across her face. Eliza, it's great to finally meet you in person, I said, extending my hand. Her handshake was firm, confident. We chatted easily through dinner, the conversation flowing between career, shared experiences of difficult families, though Eliza's story involved a more subtle, insidious form of manipulation, and our hopes for the future. It was refreshing, a conversation with someone who understood the complexities without judgment, who recognized the scars but also the strength forged in the fire. Leaving the restaurant, a new kind of lightness filled my chest. It wasn't just the delicious pad thai or the good company. It was the realization that I was actively building a new life, brick by brick, connection by connection. My phone, blessedly silent, remained in my pocket. The chaos and drama of my former family felt like a distant storm, its thunder rumbling faintly, but no longer directly overhead. The move to California a few weeks later was exhilarating. The sheer act of packing up my New York apartment, every box a physical representation of leaving the past behind, was cathartic. Harper and Chloe, true to form, helped me pack, laughing and sharing stories, reminding me of the genuine bonds I did possess. Liam oversaw the final legal loose ends, securing the restraining order against Brianna, ensuring all the accounts were irrevocably severed, and setting up the trust fund for my birth mother, Sarah, through the cardiac screening program. My new home in Malibu was a dream, light-filled, with an ocean view that instantly soothed my soul. It was a space I chose, built for me, free from the ghosts of expectation and obligation. My first weeks in California were a whirlwind of unpacking, decorating, and, surprisingly, an unexpected surge in media attention. My blog post, having gone viral, had resonated deeply with countless people. Interview requests from national morning shows, podcasts, and major publications flooded my inbox. Liam, ever the strategist, helped me navigate it all. "This is your platform, Eleanor," he'd advised. "Use it. Not for revenge, but for advocacy. To show others they're not alone." I took his words to heart. I started a podcast, The Self-Sufficient Heart, where I shared my story with more nuance, exploring the psychological toll of narcissistic family dynamics and the journey to healing. I invited therapists, authors, and, eventually, even Eliza, to share their insights. The community that formed around it was incredible, thousands of listeners reaching out, sharing their own similar stories, creating a powerful network of support. It became less about my pain and more about our collective strength. Of course, my biological family wasn't just going to fade quietly into the background. Their reactions were exactly as predicted. Mom and Dad continued their public lament, telling anyone who would listen that I was confused and manipulated. They even attempted to give a tearful interview to a local news station, painting themselves as grieving parents whose daughter had been led astray. But the narrative had shifted. Too many people had seen their public behavior. Too many knew about the medical neglect revelations. The segment backfired spectacularly, drawing even more public sympathy to my cause and further damaging their already fragile reputations. Brianna, however, was a category unto herself. The cease and desist letter from her lawyer, quickly withdrawn after Liam countered with the full medical records and Ryan's damning video, was just the beginning. She attempted to monetize her trauma by launching a tell-all social media campaign, which devolved into drunken rants and thinly veiled threats against me. The tabloids, sensing a gold mine, feasted on it. The video Ryan had sent Liam of Brianna's meltdown at Mom and Dad, where she screamed, "I'm the one who matters. I'm your real daughter," became a devastating piece of evidence in the harassment suit Liam filed. The judge, tired of her antics, ruled swiftly and decisively in my favor, issuing a permanent restraining order and substantial financial penalties. It wasn't about the money for me, it was about the peace. One quiet afternoon, about 6 months after my move, Liam called. "Good news, Eleanor. The final ruling came down on the financial fraud claim against your parents." It was a bit of a mixed bag due to the complexity of all the entangled accounts and years of gifts, but the judge sided with you on the bulk of it. They've been ordered to repay a significant portion of what you contributed to Brianna's debts, and your personal assets are completely clear from any future claims. He paused. And about that conversation with Nicholas, Ryan, his testimony about what he knew, and the fact that he was willing to put it on record, was incredibly powerful regarding your father's heart condition. Your parents had no leg to stand on regarding the medical neglect. The court issued a strong rebuke, though no direct financial penalty given the circumstances of the other rulings. "So, it's over?" I asked, looking out at the shimmering Pacific. For all intents and purposes, yes. Legally, you are free. Financially, you are whole. Emotionally, well, that's your journey, but I think you're doing a pretty damn good job of it. Liam's words brought a profound sense of relief. It wasn't vindication, not really. It was closure. The legal battles had been draining, a necessary evil to sever the ties completely. Now I could truly focus on rebuilding. My podcast was booming. I'd started holding workshops for survivors of family dysfunction, helping them navigate their own paths to setting boundaries and reclaiming their lives. The cardiac screening program for low-income families, established in Sarah's name, was thriving, already saving lives. I even reconnected with a distant cousin, a child of another of Mom's sisters, who had heard my story and shared eerily similar experiences of being overlooked in favor of Brianna. It seemed the golden child syndrome ran deep in that family, and my blog had shone a light on its insidious patterns. This cousin, David, became a surprising new source of connection, someone who understood the family dynamics from a different, yet familiar, perspective. The revelation of my adoption, however, remained the deepest wound and the most complex to heal. Knowing Sarah was my birth mother, Mom's sister, added so many layers. It wasn't just that I was adopted, it was who adopted me and how they chose to treat me, knowing my true lineage. I started therapy, delving into the abandonment, the identity confusion, the anger at being used as a prop while my birth parents were erased from my story. My therapist, Dr. Eris, was incredibly insightful. Eleanor, she'd said, they adopted you out of some sense of obligation or perhaps even self-preservation. But they never truly integrated you as their child, not on an emotional level. You were always other, a child to be managed, to serve their narrative, especially in contrast to Brianna. The emotional neglect you experienced was a direct result of that initial rejection, compounded by the constant gaslighting and manipulation. It took months of deep work, but slowly, I began to unpack it all. The anger, the grief, the profound sense of betrayal. I learned to separate their story from my story. They were not my family. Sarah was. And though I'd never known her, I carried her memory, her legacy, in a way that felt sacred. The cardiac screening program became my way of honoring her, of ensuring that other families didn't suffer the kind of silent, invisible health risks I had. One evening, Eliza and I were having dinner at my place, watching the sunset over the ocean. My grandmother's ring, now on a delicate chain around my neck, shimmered softly. You know, Eliza said, gesturing towards it, that ring has seen a lot, hasn't it? From a family heirloom to collateral for someone else's mistakes, and now a symbol of your freedom. It represents the cycle, I think, I mused. The pain, the sacrifice, and finally, the reclamation. I traced its smooth surface. It reminds me that even when things are taken from you, you can always find a way to get them back or transform them into something new. And your podcast, Eleanor, Eliza continued, it's reaching so many people. You're building something truly powerful here. It's amazing, I agreed. Every time I get a message from someone saying my story gave them courage to leave a toxic situation, it fills me with purpose. It reminds me that all that pain wasn't for nothing. It can be transformed into healing for others. Life in California was good. My career as a podcaster and speaker flourished. I bought a small, charming art studio in a nearby town, a place to dabble in painting, a creative outlet I'd suppressed for years. Harper visited often, bringing her dry wit and unwavering loyalty. Chloe, my former assistant, eventually moved to California too, taking a job in a nonprofit and becoming a cherished friend. My new circle of friends, including Eliza and other members of my support group, were genuine, supportive, and kind. They were the family I chose. One afternoon, a surprising email landed in my inbox. It was from Ryan. He'd left Brianna for good, completely disillusioned by her escalating self-destruction. He'd cleaned up his life, found a new path. Just wanted to let you know, he wrote, Brianna is in a really bad place. She's alienated everyone. She actually tried to check into rehab, but she bolted. After 2 days. I don't know what else to do. A pang of something, not quite sympathy, but a weary recognition, settled in my chest. Brianna was facing the full consequences of her actions, consequences that had always been deferred. It was sad, in a way, to witness such a complete unraveling, but it was also inevitable. I felt no urge to intervene, no guilt. My responsibility to her had ended years ago, solidified by a heart attack and a stack of legal documents. I simply replied, I hope she finds the help she needs. The last I heard of Mom and Dad was through David, my cousin. They had become increasingly isolated, their carefully constructed social facade crumbling under the weight of public perception and their own emotional bankruptcy. The Florida house, the scene of so many perceived slights, was a constant reminder of what they'd lost. They rarely left home, and when they did, they were met with whispers and averted gazes. They were trapped in the gilded cage they'd built, haunted by the silence of a daughter they'd pushed away and the incessant, toxic demands of the one they'd spoiled. As for me, I finally understood what true peace felt like. It wasn't the absence of challenges, but the strength to face them, the wisdom to choose my battles, and the unwavering belief in my own worth. I ran a half marathon, a testament to my stronger, self-beating heart. I wrote a book, weaving together my personal narrative with expert advice on healing from trauma. I watched the sun set over the Pacific each evening, a daily ritual of gratitude. My heart no longer raced with anxiety, but with the joy of living fully, authentically. I was Eleanor, a survivor, a thriver, a woman who had walked through fire and emerged, not unscathed, but undeniably stronger. My past was a chapter in my story, not the whole book. And the future? The future was an open road, painted with the vibrant, unchosen colors of my own design. It's astonishing, isn't it? How one life-or-death moment can completely reshape everything you thought you knew. For so long, I believed family meant obligation, pain, and endless sacrifice. But lying in that ICU, realizing I was utterly alone, I found a different truth. I found me. I found my voice. I found my boundaries. And in doing so, I found a new definition of family, one built on respect, love, and unwavering support, chosen rather than simply given. What about you? Have you ever had a moment that forced you to redefine what family means to you? What hard truths did you have to face to finally choose yourself? Share your story in the comments below. I'm here, and I'm listening.